Thank you, Smart Nation, for having me. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Okay, just let me... Okay, so my name is Sean. I'm the Program Director at the FinLab. So FinLab, I will just give a brief introduction of who we are and what we do. So the FinLab is UOB's Innovation Accelerator. So we are basically a community builder that we help SMEs to go digital as well as to go green. So we are currently present in Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand, and we run various programs to help the SMEs to innovate, to adopt digital solutions to better their day-to-day business operation. So since we are founded in 2015, the FinLab has supported and connected more than 21,000 SMEs. And in fact, more than 1,005 SMEs have adopted digital solution through our programs. So this is a roadmap of the FinLab. So since 2015, we ran 2 rounds of FinTech Acceleration Program, where we helped 15 FinTech startups to raise $50 million, as well as valuation in $300 million. Since 2018, we started to match the SMEs to the digital solution, and we have more than 1,500 SMEs that have adopted the digital solution. We have since expanded our program into Malaysia and Thailand in 2019. And in 2021, leveraging on the same accelerator model, we launched the Sustainability Innovation Program, where we help SMEs to understand why should they start looking at sustainability. In 2022, we also ran a Green Tech Accelerator, where we have curated 12 Green Tech solutions, and currently there are more than 5 partnerships and pilots in progress. So the FinLab innovation strategy is to focus on the collaborative open innovation. So our ecosystem partners includes Institute of Higher Learning, such as the universities and polys, government and trade associations. The SMEs and tech solution provider are a big part of our community, and we wanted to enable the demand driver to go digital, which is the SMEs, to go digital and be sustainable. So this is my last slide. So these are some of the programs that we have run in this year. The ones in blue are the digitalization program. As you can see, we run our program can range from a 1-day workshop, such as the one on the left on digital marketing, accounting, finance, HR and payments, etc. To a 1-month program like on the right, that we ran an acceleration program for the arts, as well as the digital momspreneur program. The one in blue on the left below are the programs in Thailand as well as in Malaysia. And the program in green are the sustainability program. All these programs, you can log on to the finlab.com to find out some of our programs as well as the upcoming events. Okay, so as we are from the bank, anything that you all need support in terms of the banking needs, like accounts or bank financing, you can also reach out to the FinLab. We are more than happy to assist you in that sense. Okay, with that, I will pass the time to Christopher. So Christopher Chu is the co-founder and CEO of Cashier. So Cashier is a one-stop solution, digital solution to simplify the point of sales as well as the payment operation. They are a partner of UOB, and we are very happy to have them to share their solution with you all today. Christopher?
Yeah, thanks, Sean. I think thanks for that introduction. I think it's always very heartening to see the government as well as, of course, banks like UOB putting together webinars like this, such that so that SMEs such as all of us can really benefit, right, to understand more about technologies and trends and how we can utilize some of these technologies to help spearhead and then even take our business to the next level. So we are very honored to be part of this webinar. So thanks, Sean and Emmeline, for putting this together. I think today's topic is quite timely, right? So before I jump into that, let me share my screen so everyone can see. Okay. Yep. So I think today's topic is quite timely, right? And it's actually very important because as a country, as a nation, even globally, we are rapidly moving into a digital economy. Of course, this is really spearheaded by what happened in COVID-19, the pandemic. And I think nowadays, a lot of SMEs businesses, we're asking ourselves, how can we use technology? How can we benefit from the emerging technologies to help streamline our operations, even increase sales? Reshare my screen. Just realized there's some technical difficulties. Okay, hopefully this is better. Yeah. So, and the question is, how can SMEs, use this technology to really help streamline their businesses, right? Take their businesses to the next level, right? So, I think this is really what today's topic is about. Very quickly, a quick introduction about myself. My name is Chris. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Cashier. We are a software and payments platform, best known for our point-of-sale solutions. We have helped serve over 5,000 merchants, retailers, and restaurants in Southeast Asia, and growing very rapidly. We started our business about 4 years ago, right? And the whole reason of why we started Cashier was because we saw the need to help SMEs digitalize their business operations, especially in today's digital economy. My background was previously in finance and investments, right? So before I started Cashier, I worked in a private equity investment company where we look at investing in a lot of different SMEs, and retail being one of them. I think what we have learned from that is that the most successful retailers that we have seen actually are actively adopting technologies into their processes. That gives them higher margins, more growth, of course, higher success rates. And I think that's what we have learned through the hundreds of companies that we have seen and invested in. Right? And of course, out of all those companies that we have seen, we have also saw a lot of others who actually struggle to adopt technologies, right, due to the cost and complexity. Especially as an SME, we might not have the same resources as a large MNC, right? So how do we are still able to compete in an environment like that? So we started Cashier because we saw a very big opportunity to help and work with SMEs, right, to come up with a digital point-of-sale platform and a payment solution that every SME out there, whether you are a small retailer who is just starting out or whether you are a retailer that has 100 stores, can actually use our technology and benefit from it. So a very good example is when one of the first customers that we worked with at a very early stage in our company about 4 years ago was actually a nail salon, right? And when we actually approached them to pitch our solution, we realized that they were basically recording all their customer loyalty programs and their data on pen and paper, right? And they were only accepting cash at their store. So when you are actually a customer of theirs, you walk into the nail salon to actually purchase a package, they will take out a very large thick folder of all the customer data. They will record your name and your contact numbers manually using pen and paper. And every time you visit them, they will flip through that book, right, or that file to actually look for your names and then record your packages there. Right. And then of course, that is something that's very, very manual in today's context. So we work with them very, very closely to develop a powerful customer loyalty solution that is now used by hundreds of other SMEs out there today. So this is some of the case studies that we'll be sharing. In the past 4 years that we have started Cashier, we have worked with about 5,000, slightly more than 5,000 merchants, right? So we also have the opportunity to really be able to see what works and what doesn't. And I think this is some of the best practices that we want to share with all of you today. And thanks for taking the time to join us. And without that, let's jump into today's main agenda. Right, so today we'll be sharing with you guys a few things. Firstly is the current trends in what we see in retail and e-commerce, how technologies such as a smart POS system can actually benefit your businesses. Very importantly, as an SME, how do we choose the right technology for our business? Right, and as mentioned by Emily just now, we also have a Q&A session. So for anyone who has some questions, whether is it about trends or insights or any technologies that you'll be curious about, feel free to leave your questions directly in the Q&A chat in the Zoom. We can address those later. So today's topic is really about looking at the current state of retail and e-commerce in Singapore, right, and how technology such as a smart POS system can really help to improve operational efficiencies and even increase sales as an SME, right? And I think most importantly, right, to help level the playing field against the larger companies. When all of us, we have a passion for something when we start a business, right? If you start a bicycle shop, for example, you might have a passion for bicycles, for cycling. But of course, you're also competing with a lot of other larger, more established companies, which often have a lot more budget. They might have their own IT teams to develop new technologies to help them, right? So how can we as SMEs, with our limited resources, compete with some of these larger players? I think before we get there, I think it's also quite important to look at what are some of the technologies that's being used by some of these larger companies. So a very good example that I think most of us have probably seen is actually Uniqlo, right? So if today you shop at Uniqlo, you can actually see that they have this RFID technology, a self-checkout system where you can basically throw all your clothes inside the self-checkout system, and using RFID, they can actually see what items you have purchased. It's linked to cashless payments, and you can actually do a very quick checkout yourself without having to speak to a cashier or having the cashier to do it for you. Right, so I think the RFID technology nowadays have improved, since 10, 20 years ago, right? In the past, I think about 10 years ago, RFID technologies used to cost about 50 cents, right? So if you want to embed RFID, right, into your barcode, for example, it costs about 50 cents at that time to embed RFID tag. Today, the cost has actually decreased to about 5 to 6 cents. So every time you check out at Uniqlo, right, when there's a barcode that is tagged into the clothes at Uniqlo, it costs them about 5 cents to embed this smart RFID chip inside the clothes. And that's how they're able to tell what you have purchased simply by putting your clothes inside the self-checkout system. But I think it's also very interesting that Uniqlo developed this technology actually not to simplify the customer experience. They didn't do that with the simplification of the customer experience in mind. They actually developed this RFID technology to actually improve inventory management and supply chain. Right? They realized that if I can track very accurately each of my items using RFID, I can better manage my supplies. I can better order stocks from the factories when supplies are low, and that increases a lot of Q&A, increase a lot of accuracy, right, of their supply chain management. So that's what they actually developed technologies for, right? Of course, I think there's also the benefit of having a better customer experience at the end. Uniqlo has also stated that by using this self-checkout technology, it actually helps to reduce the checkout time by about 50%. Of course, as customers, we just want to purchase our things and grab and go, right? We do not want a very long, complex checkout process. I think anything that helps to streamline that experience is always very beneficial. I think another company that is very similar to Uniqlo is actually Decathlon, right? So they've expanded very aggressively in Singapore. Instead of using RFID, they actually have their own mobile app where you can actually use the app to scan the barcode of the items that you want to purchase, and then you can actually check out directly from the app itself, right? So that again increases, reduces the friction of checking out, increases the whole checkout experience for the customers. Next, we also have, of course, this is more relevant for F&B, but I think they also, McDonald's have actually used technology very well as well. I think they have one of the best online to offline experience, right? So as a customer, if you download the McDonald's app, you can actually use it at every location. In McDonald's, they probably have hundreds of locations across Singapore. You are able to use that app to locate the nearby stores that is near you. You can actually order in advance for pickup at any of the stores. You can order for delivery directly from the app. You can even, at the store itself, you can actually use the app to scan the QR code to order directly. So you do not have to be at the counter. If you notice nowadays at McDonald's, every table, there's also a QR code. If you're using the app, you can then scan the QR code and then order directly, and the food will be delivered to you. So giving you a little bit of that restaurant experience, right, without having to pay any GST or service charge on top of that. So definitely even F&B have been using technology very well. I think we have, there's always a lot to learn, both from retail and F&B in terms of the operations. Starbucks is another one that have done something very similar to McDonald's, but they actually have an even stronger customer loyalty component, right? So if you download the Starbucks app, you can actually personalize the drinks that you want, the sugar level, the milk, the caffeine levels, and things like that. You actually save your preferences directly into the app itself. So the next time, if you were to go back to the same Starbucks outlet, they know exactly what is your preferred drink. They can actually recommend, when they have new drinks, they can actually recommend those new drinks to you as well. But I think also what's very important in Starbucks that's very different from McDonald's and some of the other companies is they have a very unique customer loyalty kind of e-wallet system, right? So I'm sure all of you are very familiar with the Starbucks card, for example, right? So if you go into a Starbucks outlet, you can actually purchase a Starbucks gift card. You can actually use that to actually top up the account in your app itself. So as of today, right, Starbucks have managed to create about 24 million customer accounts simply from their gift card solution alone, right? So I think about 24 million customers have actually registered to Starbucks gift card program, and total value of those gift cards in Starbucks currently is about $2 billion. So it's definitely very, very useful as a customer loyalty piece, right? Because you are basically asking the customers to top up, the funds directly into their account so that they can spend later. As a SME, this is also a very useful strategy because you get the cash flow upfront. The customers might purchase from you 1 month later, 3 months later, 6 months later, but you actually get a lot of that cash flow upfront. So you are basically locking in the customers into part of your loyalty program. So Cashshare actually offers solutions like that as well. I will share a little bit later. You don't have to be Starbucks. You don't have to have your own IT teams to actually develop solutions like that. And I think that's the whole purpose and point of today's webinar, to actually share with all of you a little bit about what the large companies are doing, but of course, how as an SME you can also adopt some of these technologies. So moving on to the current trends, right, in what we see in retail and e-commerce. I think very notably because of the pandemic, in the past 4 years, e-commerce has really, accelerated very quickly in Singapore. So it has doubled in terms of value from about 5 billion to about 10 billion this year, US dollars. So I think we are now at a stage where, as a retailer, it's actually not enough to actually sell online or offline anymore, right? But it has to be both. But I will elaborate a little bit about why we think that is the future. But definitely from a data perspective, from the trends, we can see that a lot of the transactions are moving towards e-commerce. Customers are getting more familiar and more willing to actually spend online. And as SMEs, we definitely need to have solutions or to be able to cater to these purchase requirements. Consumers are also getting a lot more comfortable with purchasing from their phones, right? So nowadays, in the past, right, e-commerce was really about logging into my laptop or my computer and then purchasing directly from my laptop, getting it shipped to me. But nowadays, customers are actually purchasing from using their phones. They're actually buying directly when they are traveling the MRT, when they are actually dining out with their friends. They are shopping all the time. So we are getting more and more comfortable with purchasing from the phones, right? And I think as a very good example, a couple of months ago, and when it was a time where Singapore was raining quite heavily, right? So I happened to see an ad on Facebook for a pair of waterproof shoes, right? And actually the whole experience of buying online using my mobile phone was very, very seamless, right? So I saw the ad for the shoes. I click into the ad. It actually brings me into the Shopify page. I just have to select my color and my size. And then when I check out, it's actually linked to my Apple Pay. So if you're using iPhone, the Shopify actually links to Apple Pay. So you don't have to key in your card details. You just pay directly using Apple Pay. Apple Pay also stores your delivery details as well. So I didn't have to enter any of my delivery details. Apple actually sends all this information to Shopify so they know where to deliver your goods to. So from the time when I saw the ad to when I purchased it, everything took less than 2 minutes, right? And the whole experience was very, very seamless. I think nowadays we are moving into really trying to create technologies and experiences that are getting more and more seamless for the consumers. And I think as SMEs, this is something that we always have to keep in mind, right? How do we reduce the friction of customers purchasing from us? Right. I think some of these technologies that we are seeing definitely helps to help us to adopt some of these new experiences. I think consumer behavior has also shifted a lot due to the pandemic, right? So I think we have, for better or worse, the pandemic also taught a lot of us to scan QR codes, for example, right? So even people who are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, even the elderly in the past who were struggling to use smartphones. Nowadays, because of the pandemic, they have to scan a QR code for safe entry. They are also getting more and more comfortable with technology, right? And of course, with the pandemic came a couple of periods of lockdown where we have to purchase everything online, whether is it our groceries or food delivery or even retail purchasing, for example, right? So a lot of this consumer behavior was really shifted, because of the pandemic, and that's why we also see a lot of online sales accelerating because of COVID-19. I think another important point is in the past few months, we also see a lot of aggressive promotions by e-commerce marketplaces like Shopee and Lazada, right? So you start to see a lot of these marketplaces become a lot more mainstream, But in the past, people do not really purchase directly from Shopee, right? So if you want to purchase a pair of shoes, you might type into Google to actually search for those pair of shoes. But nowadays, even Shopee or Lazada has become a search engine by itself, right? If you want to purchase something, you actually go to Shopee or Lazada to search for those items. So I think the consumer behavior has also shifted towards purchasing from a lot of these marketplaces. And also thanks to their aggressive advertising, you see a lot of TV ads, YouTube ads from Shopee and Lazada. And nowadays, even the elderly, right? Even my parents in the past who have never purchased from Shopee or Lazada before, today they're actually actively also purchasing from Shopee and Lazada. They've created their accounts. They have now be very used to the whole purchasing cycle of purchasing from a marketplace. So as a retailer or e-commerce store, definitely, opening an account in Shopee and Lazada is a very big important factor for you to increase your sales as well. I think nowadays we're also looking a lot about how can we merge online and offline, right? Like I mentioned in the past, nowadays retail is not about either online or offline, but really a mix of both. At the end of the day, it's really about how can we create the best customer experience. It's all about our customers, right? We all built and started our businesses because we wanted to serve our customers better. We wanted to give them the best experience. And nowadays, customers don't shop purely online and they don't shop purely offline. So it's our role to actually merge both of them. But so a very good example of how we can merge this online and offline experience is basically this customer journey, right? So for example, today you have an e-commerce store, right? A customer actually makes a purchase with you online at your e-commerce store, or if you send them an invoice, for example, to purchase a bicycle, right? Let's say I want to buy a custom-made bicycle, can be a few $1,000s. I receive an invoice from the retail stores, and then I actually make a deposit for the bicycle using the invoice solution. Right. After that, once the order is ready, the retail store will actually prepare the order and make it available for the customer to actually pick up in the store. They might not want it delivered. For example, if I'm purchasing a bicycle, I might want to actually go down to the store to inspect it, to actually try it out before I actually purchase it. Right. So the retail stores will actually prepare the goods and then make it available for collection. The customer can then go down to the store, collect his order, inspect his order, and actually make the final payment. So for example, if I only paid 50% of the invoice as deposit for my bicycle, I can actually pay the other 50% directly in store, right? And so tagged and then tied back to the same invoice. Right. As a retail store, the inventory is then updated in real time. So if you purchase, as a consumer, if I purchase offline with you directly at your shop, or I purchase at your e-commerce store, the inventory at the top is all synced, right? So you will know exactly when you're running low on stocks, when your stock has been sold out, your e-commerce store can actually, mark the item as sold out automatically. Your point of sale system can also show that item has been sold out automatically. So when the customers go to your store, you can very easily inform them that those items are low in stock or they have been sold out. Last but not least, of course, it then syncs back to your back-end reports and your accounting as well. So I think this is a very simplified journey, right, about how we see, the consumer behavior changing. The consumer can actually interact with you. The first point of interaction can actually be directly through your e-commerce store online first, or your Facebook ads or your Google ads. And then from there, they can actually transit into your store itself to actually get the experience, check out, and then on the back end, everything is synced for you very seamlessly. It can also work the other way around, right? So if you have a physical shop, a consumer can actually walk into your store, see a very nice bicycle that you have, and you might have they might want to think about it. They might not want to purchase on the spot, right? So what you can do is you can actually print them a QR code, right? Using the POS system, print out a QR code for them so that they can bring back home. So when they are ready to purchase, they can actually scan that QR code. It brings them to your website and your e-commerce page, and they can actually check out directly from the comfort of their own homes. So I think as retailers, it's really our role, right, to really think deeply about how can we drive the best customer experience. Customers today, they really want to be able to purchase anywhere, everywhere from any device, right? Whether it's in store or online, right? So we need to make these solutions and these channels available for them. Some of the emerging trends that we see in retail and e-commerce as well, like I mentioned, omni-channel retail, online and offline, definitely very, very big drivers of the whole retail experience moving forward. So things like order and pick up. And of course, nowadays, the physical shop sort of becomes an experience center, right? In the past, when you have opened a physical shop, it's really about, customers walk in and then they purchase on the spot. But nowadays, customers seldom make the purchase decision on the spot, right? They want to compare, they want to look around, they want to see what other products are there. And a lot of times they walk into your shop to actually experience the product itself. So a very good example of this is the Apple Store, right? So of course, Apple actually had an online store before they actually come up with their first physical shop. But Tim Cook and the Apple management team felt that it was very important for the customers to be able to come and experience the Apple products in real life, right? Physically, because I think that's what really drives and what differentiates Apple from the rest of the competition, right? It's the design they have, the hardware, the millions of dollars that they've invested in the design of their products. And you can't really experience this when you're looking at the products online on the website. So Apple actually developed their entire store to actually be more experiential, right? Not really for purchases. You can still purchase Apple products, but if you look at the whole interior design of the Apple Store, it's really made to make you feel very comfortable. It's high ceilings, very airy, it has natural plants. The retail staff acts very friendly, like your friends, they recommend the Apple products to you. So it's really built to give you a very good experience about what the Apple brand is about. Right. Next, we also have personalization. Right. So nowadays, especially the millennials, the Gen Z, we like to look for things that are customized to our own requirements. Right. So it can be as simple as a pair of shoes, for example. So if you look at the app that Nike has developed, if you want to buy a pair of shoes or sneakers from Nike directly from the app, you can actually customize the design of the shoes directly from the app itself. So you can customize the colors of the shoe, the colors of the shoelaces, what type of shoelaces you want, even the materials of the shoe itself, right? It can be customized. You can be put your own names or your initials directly and have it directly embedded into the shoe itself. So Nike allows you to do all of this directly from their app. I think they have seen sales actually increase significantly because a lot of the millennials and Gen Z, the younger generation, they want goods and products that speaks directly to them, right? They want to feel special, they want to feel unique, and they are really and willing to spend to have some of this personalization and customization. We also see a lot of social selling and social commerce and live selling nowadays, right? So with the rise of social platforms like Facebook, Instagram, nowadays it's very common to actually see live sellers set up their business operations using Facebook live selling, for example. And I think the reason why that is so is because it has very, very low barriers to entry, right? Anyone with a Facebook account or an iPhone camera can actually start live selling directly on Facebook, right? You might not need to invest in a physical shop. You might not even need to have your own offices, right? A lot of people, these live sellers actually do it from their homes itself. So we have seen a lot of trends of these kind of live sellers coming up simply because the barriers of starting a business is significantly reduced because of technologies like this. In the past, you might need to open a retail shop, right, to be able to gain exposure, right? The whole reason of why I want to open in the shopping mall in Orchard Road is because, Orchard Road has a lot of people walking past my shopping mall, right? So if you open a shop at 313 or you open a shop at Orchard Central, you are guaranteed that there's a lot of people who walk by your store, right? And that's how you used to get customers into your store, right? But nowadays with social with social platforms like Facebook, Instagram, if you have a strong enough following, if you run some ads, you can actually get a lot of this traffic directly into your platform as well. So you do not need to actually invest in a physical shop. So definitely live selling is something that we see as a trend. I think, again, it's not either or. If you open a physical shop, what we have also seen is that some of these retailers who are operating off-peak, right? So let's say it can be on a weekday afternoon, for example, they actually block out a small part of their shop to actually do live selling directly from the shop itself. So you are basically being able to reach out to customers who might not have the time to actually visit your shop physically, but you're also making use, right, of the retail and the real estate that we have invested in, where you're paying monthly rental every month to actually set up a live selling component every week or every 2 weeks to actually reach out to a new segment of customers. We also are very big nowadays in cashless payments, right? Definitely because of the pandemic. What we have seen in even our own data through Cashier, because we process payments for hundreds and thousands of merchants, right, across Southeast Asia, we're starting to see a lot of shift away from cash. Right, so whether is it through cards or e-wallets, or even nowadays buy now pay later. So you have Kome, you have ShopBackPay, for example, who are basically offering installment-free, interest-free installments to consumers. Right, so nowadays a lot of the payments are moving towards cashless. But I think what's even more interesting is that we are also seeing companies and even Cashier, right, ourselves, right, developing a technology to actually link payments with loyalty itself. Right, so in the past, right, if you are open a retail store, in order to be able to track your customer purchases, you need to be able to key the customer information into your own point of sale system, right? So you might need to ask your consumers for their name, for their contact number, for their email addresses. And that kind of increases the friction, right? Because the customers need to be at your checkout, stand there for about 2 to 5 minutes, enter their information. Sometimes they have a typo. Sometimes it hogs up the queue at the back. It's not a very good overall experience for the customers. So what is available nowadays is actually payments linked loyalty. Right. So for example, if you process payments through Cashier later this year, we are able to have a loyalty component where we can tag the customer purchases to the customer's card itself. So if a customer is using a credit card, for example, a UOB credit card, for example, right, we are able to actually tell that this customer actually come back to your store, and has repeat purchases, because each card itself has a unique token, right, that is embedded into the card. So the customers do not need to key in any unique information about themselves. They do not need to key in their payment information or their personal information like their contact number. Simply by tapping their card in your credit card terminal, we are actually able to register them as a loyal customer. So the next time they come back to your shop, if they use back the same card, right, and they just pay, the loyalty points or the packages or the credits can then be tagged back into the same card itself. I think that significantly increases or streamlines the customer's experience. And that's a technology that we are very excited to be developing in-house in Cashier, which will be launching later this year as well. So we're seeing a lot of these trends towards linking payments and loyalty that will make the things very interesting in the next few months. Okay, I think this is one of the last few segments of today's webinar. The main question is how can us as SMEs we use technology such as a smart POS system to really help streamline and take our business to the next level. Right, so traditionally, right, POS systems, they were developed 10, 20 years ago, right? Ever since we have the computers and PCs becoming mainstream, we already had POS systems in the retail stores, right? The whole purpose was to really streamline operations, right? Help to manage inventory, help to manage accounting, so that you know what's your best-selling items, you know exactly how much money you make at the end of the day. So it's a lot about helping to streamline the operations of the businesses and also getting the critical insights and the reporting that's required to run their business successfully. But nowadays, POS systems actually develop into much more than that. Right. So in the past, again, 10, 20 years ago, definitely a lot of the POS systems were geared towards more of the reporting, that accounting component. But nowadays, it has really, really evolved into serving even more, I think, more solutions than just purely reporting. So if you look at how POS system has changed significantly, firstly, we are able to nowadays integrate your online and your offline sales channel. So in the past, POS system used to be a standalone solution, right? So you buy a POS at your shop, you might have an e-commerce store, and oftentimes those two do not talk and do not integrate with each other, right? But nowadays, this is not the way that we should be running our businesses. We should definitely think of how can we link the online and offline together. So nowadays, a smart POS solution can actually act as a middleware to integrate all the other external solutions that you're using. So Cashier, for example, right, if you use the Cashier Smart POS at your shop, we can actually link to your Shopify or your WooCommerce store, and any orders that you receive on Shopify and WooCommerce can then be synced into your POS, and then you can actually pull out a lot of these details later on, or when the customers come and visit your shop, you can actually pull out these orders. You can actually sync your inventory offline and online as well. When a customer purchases your items either in store or online, both of that inventory can actually be synced. So you know exactly in real time how much stock you have left over. You can actually also sync to your accounting system. So whether you are using like Xero or QuickBooks, which is the most popular solutions nowadays, a lot of the smart POS system will be able to help integrate. So you can actually push a lot of your data and your financial information directly into accounting to make the whole process very seamless for you. Right. Definitely, nowadays with cashless payments, the most modern POS solutions can also integrate cashless payments directly into their solution. So Cashier, for example, we have our own payment gateway. So if you actually adopt the cashless solution, you can actually process payments, cards, e-wallets, pay now, buy now, pay later, directly through the Cashier platform, right? You do not have to go and apply for a bank terminal, or even you do not need to go and apply for a GrabPay account or a PayNow account, because you just need to actually apply once through Cashier. We are a payment gateway ourselves. We can actually help you to accept all the payments directly, both offline and online as well. Right, I think this is very important because if you have a omni-channel payment solution, that also increases a lot of the solutions that you can adopt. So like I mentioned in the past, if you just now early on in the webinar, if you actually retail things like furniture or bicycle, high value items, right? You might want to issue invoices to the customers to actually pay in advance. So if you're using the Cashier payment gateway, what can actually potentially happen is that the customers can actually receive the invoice from you. They might be just sitting at the sofa at their homes. They actually receive the invoice. They can actually click on the link to actually make the deposit payment. It can be 50%, for example. And when the goods are ready, you can actually inform the customers. They can drop by your shop to actually pick up the goods. They can actually pay the rest of the 50% or the rest of the payment directly at your counter using our point of sale system. Right? And again, in the backend accounting, all of this will be synced, all of this will be updated in real time for you. So definitely very convenient, definitely help to open up a lot of new customer experience that's previously not possible in the past. Definitely, with a smart POS system, it comes with a lot of cloud-based reporting and analytics as well. You might want to look at what is your best-selling items, what is, who is driving repeat purchases, right? Who is your most loyal customers? What is running low on inventory, right? You do not want to be in your store all the time, right? You might be in your warehouse, you might be in a factory, or you might even be working from home sometimes, right? So be able to pull out a lot of these data wherever you are is definitely very, very important in today's age. And that's something that the POS system can help you with as well. I think nowadays, smart POS has also extended a lot into becoming a very strong customer loyalty component, right? Of course, like I mentioned, some of the examples that we shared in the past, McDonald's, Starbucks, they have millions of dollars of IT budget, right, to develop a very strong customer loyalty component for their customers. But as SMEs, we might not have the same resources as them, right? So, but nowadays, fortunately, smart POS solutions actually come with technologies or experiences that's very similar to what a McDonald's or Starbucks can do. So for example, right, as a customer, you might be able to, as a retailer, you might be able to allow the customers to actually register their customer information and register for a loyalty program directly online, right? They do not need to be in their store. Send them a link, they can actually register their details directly online. What can happen also, every time a customer actually purchase something from you in store, you actually print out, and when you actually print out a receipt for them, you can actually embed a QR code in the receipt itself as well, right? So every receipt that you print comes with a unique QR code. So when the customer scans that QR code, they can actually register for your loyalty program, right, directly using their own devices. This is a very good experience because the customers do not need to register with you at the counter. So definitely the checkout experience is faster. They just take the receipt, they walk away, they scan the QR code, they register using their own phones. Again, the best solutions out there can also link that purchase, right, the customer just made, back into the customer data and customer account as well. So when a customer scans the unique QR code, right, they can actually tag back the same transaction and get points directly from that transaction into their own phones. So that means we already have technologies like this available, right? And Cashier is also, I think, developing solutions like that, which will be ready later this year. So we are also investing a lot into coming up with new customer loyalty component, right, to help the retailers be able to attract and retain their loyal customers. Like I mentioned just now, I think we have also seen very huge trends coming from the payments and loyalty integration component. So in the future, actually in the very near future, in the next few months, you will be able to basically tap your card into a cashier terminal and have your loyalty actually registered directly into your card itself. So you do not need to actually give any of your personal information or manually enter your card or your phone details or your address or your email address directly into the POS system, because we can actually recognize a lot of these directly from your card token itself. So very exciting. I think next few months, definitely a lot of very, I think, new technologies that will come out into the market. And again, because we are a technology platform that purpose built this for SMEs, right? The solutions, a lot of these solutions will be very, very affordable for you as SME. You do not need to invest thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars to actually develop or customize this. You might not want to. In the past, you might need to hire a IT agency, right? Because you might not have your own IT teams or work with an outsourced developer to develop a lot of these things. But nowadays, with platforms like Cashier, SMEs do not need to do that anymore, because a lot of these solutions becomes more and more affordable for everyone. Sharing a little bit about the case studies of some of the merchants that we have worked with. So, for example, we have a gummy bear retailer called Bear & Friends in the Haji Lane area. They have actually one of the early adopters of Cashier. I think what they have liked about us is that our solutions is very, very small. As you can see in the small GIF that we have shared, it's really basically a handheld device, right? That it's all in one. You can basically key in all your inventory and your prices inside. It's integrated with payments. It can print out the receipt. Customers can actually register their loyalty details directly. So it's a very portable, very easy to use device that really benefited SMEs like Bear & Friends. Right. We also have one of my favorite examples is actually Riders Arena. Like I mentioned, they're actually a bicycle retailer. So they work with Cashier to adopt our solutions for to allow the customers to actually pay online using the invoice solutions that we have. So I will share a little bit of a quick video with everyone about how Riders Arena have actually used our solution, and hopefully that also gives you a very good idea about how Cashier is being used by some of our retailers.
I got to know about Cashier through my friend Daniel, who happens to be my customer as well. The best part about this system is it incorporates most of the payment platforms like PayNow, Atome, credit cards, which is very, very convenient for the customers. What I like most about the system is the e-invoice feature. It helps me to generate the invoice prior to the customer bike collection so that they are aware of the works done and also the costs. Customers can either make payment when they come to shop, when they collect their bike, or they can make payment via the online link in the e-invoice. This function is great for customers when they want to pre-order some components where they do not need to come down to the shop to make payment as well. The e-invoice feature helps us to collect deposits before the work is done. This helps with cash flow and easier for my mechanic, Jack, to collect the final payment when I'm not around. With this fantastic system, we are a lot more efficient and we can serve our customers better.
Okay. So, like I mentioned, right, so Riders Arena also work very closely with Cashier to help, and then we help them adopt these kind of solutions to, again, streamline the customer experience, but also very importantly, like what's mentioned in the video, it really helps with the cash flow of SMEs as well. Because if you're able to actually issue invoices to your customers and have them pay a deposit upfront, especially for a high ticket value item, that helps you to be able to actually purchase your supplies or your ingredients or your inventory upfront without you having to actually purchase those using your own cash flow. So I think solutions like that definitely helps to increase the success rate of SMEs when cash flow is a very important factor in the success of SMEs nowadays. Okay, I think moving on to the last segment, right? So again, as SMEs, how do we really choose the right technologies for our business, right? So there's 101 technologies out there nowadays. How do we know which one is for me, right? How do I know this is actually what's suitable for buying business, right? So Again, I think what we've seen is that the right solution and the right technologies can really be a game changer for your business, right? So again, even if you look at a POS system, for example, you might have 10 or 20 different options out there in the market. But again, firstly, the traditional systems that are currently being offered is very, very expensive. So it can cost $10,000 to $20,000 upfront. Every year, there's a yearly maintenance fee. Again, it works often as a silo, as a standalone system with no integrations to other apps or other systems out there. Again, it's sometimes not even cloud-based, right? So a lot of the data is stored locally inside the computer or the POS system itself. So what we have developed here at Cashier is basically a platform that really makes the solutions like that a lot more affordable to SMEs. Right? Our vision is hopefully through our solution, we can help level the playing field, right? That all these big technologies or the technologies that's being used by the bigger players like Uniqlo, Starbucks, McDonald's, we want to bring those technologies used by those companies down to the SME level, such that everyone, whether you are just starting out or whether you have a chain of 20, 30 outlets, can actually benefit from technologies like that. So very quick comparison table, right? So if you compare the difference between a smart POS and a traditional POS, again, the upfront cost for traditional POS is very, very expensive. For Cashier, for example, our solution starts at only about $50 per month with a very low upfront fee. I'll share a little bit about our different packages later. Hardware-wise, again, traditional ones tend to have very messy counters because you need one for your main POS, you need a barcode scanner, you need a receipt printer, you need a credit card terminal. You have all these 10 different QR codes that is basically pasted on your counter. So it's actually very, very messy. But nowadays, a smart POS solution, like what you see in Ben and Friends just now in the GIF, is actually one small portable device, right? That can actually do all of those things without having you to purchase multiple hardware or having to maintain multiple hardware. So cashless payments, also a smart POS solution will actually integrate it directly into the POS system itself. You do not need to rent or purchase a separate credit card terminal from a bank. You don't need to set up your GrabPay or PayNow account separately because all of these will be able to be done directly from the POS system itself. Very scalable as well, a smart POS solution. You might start off with, I just need a very simple payment solution, right? Just to record my inventory, because I'm just starting out. But maybe 6 months later, 12 months later, you realize that, hey, I want to start running a customer loyalty program, right? In the past, if you use a traditional POS solution, to add on a lot of these modules requires you to update or upgrade your entire solution or your entire system and having to purchase a separate solution, right? But nowadays, with a cloud-based smart POS solution, you can actually add on all these different modules anytime you want. So Cashier, for example, you can start off with just accepting payments through Cashier. When you're more comfortable with the business that's grown to more outlets, you can then take on our multi-outlet inventory solution. You can take on our customer loyalty component at any time you want, right? And it's just basically at a flick of a button. So it's actually very, very scalable. We also have a lot of integrations with third-party solutions, right? Like I mentioned, traditional POS in the past used to be just a standalone solution, very siloed away from the rest of the systems that you might be using. But nowadays, I think things like that don't work anymore. As a business owner, we want everything to be integrated, right? We just want to log in into one platform to be able to see all of our data, right? And a platform like Cashier helps you to do all of these things. So if you log into Cashier, you can actually see all your e-commerce sales, your e-commerce orders, your inventory, your customer details, whether you are using Shopify or WooCommerce, or whether you are using accounting like Xero. All of those data is available on Cashier itself. So you don't need to log into multiple platforms and solutions to manage your business. Very importantly, right, support. I think that's something that Cashier is also have invested a lot in. So we believe in offering local support 7 days a week to the merchants that we work with. So if you actually use a Cashier solution, you can be assured that we will actually provide you with the best support. All of our IT teams, our support team is actually based locally here in Singapore. So we've invested a lot in our support and our IT infrastructure to make sure that our company can, our tech can actually also scale with the SMEs that we are serving. Whereas in the past, if you work with a traditional POS system, they might have support teams in other countries like Vietnam or the Philippines. Sometimes it's difficult to reach them. They don't actually develop a lot of these solutions in-house. So when there's a bug or when there's issues, right, it might take them a week or 2 weeks, right, to actually solve it for you. So I think there's a very big difference between the smart POS solution and the traditional POS solution. elaborate a little bit further, right? I think the differences of Cashier, firstly, is we are able to help you to accept offline and online payments, cashless payments, right? Both offline and online. So like I mentioned, it's both cards, e-wallets, pay now, buy now, pay later. Basically, every kind of payment method that you can imagine, you might be able to actually purchase, process it through Cashier without having to actually go and purchase or adopt a third-party solution. Our solution is also very flexible, very mobile. Like you've seen in Bank & Friends, it's actually a portable terminal, right? So it has an 8 hours battery life. So you can actually unplug it, take it to anywhere you want. Right? So if you're running events or you're running road shows or pop-up shows, you can actually use that smart POS solution anywhere, right? It's in the past, it was very difficult to allow the customers to pay by cards, right? If you actually open a pop-up store or a road show, you might only have one credit card terminal, and then you end up having asked the customers pay by cash in your road show. But nowadays, with solutions like that, it's a lot more mobile, a lot more flexible, enabling you to actually have your solution at your events and your road shows as well. Again, like I mentioned, it's also very ready for growth in your business. You might just be starting out today, but rest assured that a good solution will be able to scale and grow with you, and you can actually adopt of these solutions anytime in your business as well. It's also very compatible with the external solutions that you are using, whether it's your e-commerce store or your food delivery platforms, if you run an F&B store, or accounting solutions like QuickBooks or Xero. Again, POS solution has also developed a lot into different form factors, right? So the device that you see on the left is our flagship device called Cashier X1. That is something that is very mobile, very portable. It has our full-fledged solution directly inside it. Cashless payments, invoice, customer loyalty, everything you need to run a business is actually that inside the small solution itself. If you prefer to have something that is larger, of course, a larger screen means that it's a lot easier to use in terms of usability. If you have elderly people in your store, or if you hire people who are a little bit more elderly, they might prefer a larger screen. We also have a solution like that called the Cashier XL. That's the device we have in the middle. But nowadays, actually you don't even need a specific device anymore, right? So if you look at the one on the right, our solution is already directly available on the Google Play Store itself. So if you scan the QR code, you can actually, using an Android device, you can actually download the Cashier platform directly into your own mobile devices or your tablets and start using Cashier straight away without having to purchase a separate hardware, right? We are developing our iOS version, which also will be ready later this year as well. I think very importantly, the Singapore government has also been very supportive of SMEs adopting solutions. So we have something called the Productivity Solutions Grant, or what we call the PSG grant, that allows SMEs to actually apply for a grant to adopt technologies like that. So definitely in terms of helping you to reduce the cost of adoption of technology, the grant will help a lot in making the solutions more affordable for you. There is a few eligibility criteria. So firstly, you have to be a registered business or sole proprietor operating in Singapore. You have to have a minimum of 30% local shareholding. Your annual sales cannot be more than 100 million, or you cannot have more than 200 employees, right? So that's basically the government's definition of SME, right? So, and of course, you need to be able purchase the solution to be used in Singapore itself. So if you fulfill all 4 of these requirements, it is very likely that you can actually apply for up to a 50% grant to offset the cost of adopting this kind of new solutions or technologies for your business. The most popular package we have is actually the Cashier X1 device. So it comes with a 12 months growth subscription. So growth includes things like invoice management, customer loyalty, inventory management, your cashless payments, your point of sale reporting. Everything is already included in this growth plan. It comes with the device itself. It comes with 7 days a week support. Again, with that 50% grant, the cost upfront for you as a merchant is only about $1,648. So very, very affordable right now. Nowadays, even an iPhone or a MacBook will cost you roughly about the same amount. So what we have done is again, the whole idea of Cashier is to make a lot of the solutions that's being used by the larger companies like Starbucks, like McDonald's, make it down and make it affordable to SMEs like all of you, such that all of us can actually get access to the same technology, so we do not have to pay thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to actually go and develop these solutions ourselves. Right, so if you're interested, you can actually scan the QR code right down at the bottom of the screen, or you can actually go to cashier.com/sg/get app. get offer to actually subscribe or leave your interest, and one of our sales consultants will actually work with you, right? They will give you a call to understand a little bit about the kind of solutions that you want to adopt for your business. Again, our approach is to actually work very closely with the SMEs. So we will understand very deeply about your business operations, how you're currently managing inventory, what are the different pain points you have, and we can also recommend solutions that there's even outside of what we offer, such that we can actually help make your business the most successful it can be. Right, so I think that's all in today's webinar. That's all we have to share. I'll move on to the Q&A section. I've seen we've already got a couple of very good questions that is being led by you, the audience. So if you want to, again, leave any last minute questions, you can actually do it directly from the Zoom Q&A link as well. Okay, so I think we probably have about 9 or 10 questions. Probably just go through each of them one by one. Does your software sync to purchases made by customers on online platforms such as Fave? Purchases made on online commerce form part of the loyalty database, or they need to manually combine transactions, right? So I think to answer this question, again, it's not a one-size-fits-all. Cashier has integrations with a couple of third-party solutions like Shopify and WooCommerce. So Fave, we are still in negotiations with them to actually integrate that directly into our platform. So it really depends on what kind of solutions or what kind of platforms you are thinking of adopting, right? So again, it's very hard to find a organization or company that will have all 100% of the integrations that you need, right? So what we do here at Cashier is to look at what is the emerging trends, right? What are the customers using, or is Fave getting more and more popular, right? And if that's so, then we will look at integrating it into our platform. So yes, to answer the question, we already have solutions like that to a certain extent, probably not as extensive as what you mentioned. But if you would like to kind of find out more, we are happy to actually go through our entire product demo with you. If you can leave your details directly in the webinar or the link, happy to do that with one of our sales consultants. Next question, what was the biggest challenge when helping SMEs get on board with the POS system? I think two of the biggest challenges, right, for SMEs, for all SMEs, is definitely cost and complexity. I think these are the very common themes that we see when we are trying to help SMEs adopt technology, right? A lot of them is, I don't have the resources to invest in a good solution, or how much will this cost me? I don't really have a lot of money to pay at this point. I might not know how the technology works. It's too complex for me. I do not know how to use this. So definitely the two biggest, I think, challenge is definitely cost and complexity. And I think that's the challenge that we are kind of addressing right here at Cashier. The whole idea and the whole vision of why we started Cashier is to firstly make technology a lot more affordable for SMEs. Like you've seen, our entire package with the grants only costs slightly more than $1,000. The subscription fee after the grant expires is only about $50 to $60 per month, right? So again, very, very affordable for SME. And we also make our entire user interface and user experience very streamlined, very easy to adopt and use. So I think one of the main reasons why SMEs love to use the Cashier platform is because they realize that almost no training is needed to get started with Cashier, right? So if you don't have to need to worry about, if my store hires elderly, will they be able to pick up this kind of solutions, right? We have, I think why Cashier was started is because we spent a lot of R&D and resources to develop solutions to make it very user-friendly for people with all ages. So I think that's really the two main issues that we see when SMEs are trying to adopt technologies. Next, there are reports of increasing scams with the use of QR code payments. I think how Cashier ensure, I think the prevention of such threats. I think it's a very, very good question, right? So nowadays, very commonly, if you walk into a store, hawker store, retail store, you will often see a lot of QR codes, right, that is pasted on the counter. That's what we call a static QR code, right? So as a customer, right, if you actually scan and you pay using a static QR code, what happens in your bank app or your GrabPay app is you often need to key in the price yourself onto your mobile devices, right? So if it's $50, you need to key in 50, and then you need to show the owner or the cashier your screenshot, right, when the payment is completed. So actually, this entire process has the potential to have a lot of fraud, right? So there's a lot of hawkers who have reported, for example, that customers actually don't actually make the payment. They actually take a screenshot of the payment they have made in the past, right? And then they actually show back the same screenshot to the hawkers and say that they have made the payment. And hawkers have actually lost hundreds of dollars simply because of this kind of frauds. Right, so I think that's where a smart POS system is very important, because if you use a solution like Cashier, for example, you do not need to paste those static QR codes at your counter. What will happen is that because we are the payment gateway, when a customer wants to pay by GrabPay or PayNow, for example, when you click into the POS system or a PayNow payment, a QR code will be generated directly on the POS system itself. It's a unique QR code that lasts only for one time. When the customer scans the QR code, the price is already directly put into their phones. They cannot actually edit the price. And when they make the payment, the POS solution actually knows that the payment has went through, right? So definitely there is no cases of fraud. It's not possible with a solution like that, because the entire payment solution is powered by a payment gateway. So I think these are the solutions that SMEs can also adopt, right? Because I think that what we've estimated is that businesses lose about 2 to 3% of their overall sales due to fraud every year. It's also much higher, right, than the MDR rates or the transaction fees that you have to pay for adopting solutions like that. So definitely our recommendation is use a POS solution that has integrated payments. Definitely help to lower a lot of that fraud cases. How about security and PDPA? Very convenient, good customer experience. There's also risk, right? So agree. I think that's something that Cashier has also placed a lot of emphasis in, right? I cannot speak to other POS companies, right? But here at Cashier, because we are a licensed payment gateway, we take data security and PDPA very, very seriously. So we have the highest data security standards that's issued by Visa and MasterCard called PCI DSS. We have the level 1 standards. So all your data is actually securely stored inside Google Cloud. We back it up every day. We have basically only a whitelisted model where only the IP addresses that is by Cashier can actually access those databases and those personal data that is stored within the Cashier environment. So again, I think different companies will actually adopt different practices and different security infrastructure to address this. So I think as SME is also our responsibility to do a little bit of due diligence, right? When you maybe do a product demo with one of the solutions that you are actually adopting, be sure to actually ask the sales consultants about how they are managing data. Where is it stored at? How often do they back it up? How do they actually manage PDPA, right? How do they actually share or sell or actually distribute this data to anyone else? Right here at Cashier, for example, we have very strict data security policies. We do not share, we do not sell, we do not use any of your data in any way. All the data that is hosted on Cashier belongs to you. Right? Again, I think that's our promise to the customers and the merchants that we work with. So definitely something that is a good due diligence that the SMEs ourselves need to do when we adopt new solutions like that. A question from Brandon: are we adopting any machine learning models to predict the customer behavior and purchasing patterns in the POS system? Yeah, I think this is something that's also very exciting for us, right, in the next coming few months. I think we are really at the very age, right, of seeing AI and machine learning really taking off, right? Of course, with the rise of ChatGPT, with because AI starting become so mainstream, right? A lot of even consumers or normal customers who are in the past not very interested with technology, starting to ask a lot about how we are using AI and things like that. So here at Cashier, we are slowly starting to dip our toes, trying to learn a little bit about how we can make use of the data we have, of course, using AI and machine learning to actually help like customer loyalty, like what you mentioned, right? So in a very near distant, kind of not very distant future, right? In the near future, right? What might actually happen is, for example, if you actually are on the Cashier platform, and let's say you are dining out at a restaurant today, right? And you actually purchase all your meals and your drinks, and you actually don't purchase a dessert from the restaurant, right? And after you make the payment, the receipt is printed out to you, Cashier will actually know that, hey, you actually didn't purchase a dessert from the restaurant. And actually there is another ice cream store 200 meters away from where you are dining out at, which is also using the cashier system, right? And they actually can actually recommend or give you vouchers to actually purchase your first scoop of ice cream from that ice cream store. So I think that's a very good example, right? How potentially we can use data to actually help push customers, right, from one location to another, right? So that again, if you are using cashier, all this data will be aggregated, right? We can actually make use of all this data to actually streamline our customer loyalty component, hopefully help to push more sales to you, right? So I think that's something that we want to develop in-house in cashier as well, hopefully over the next few months. Does our solution use RFID technology for POS checkout? Currently, we do not have this solution yet because I think it's not just about developing the solution, right, the software, but for the hardware-wise, for example, the self-checkout system is still very, very costly like, for example, Uniqlo, right? You know that there's this large machine that you have to put your clothes inside to actually enable RFID checkout. So that big, large machine actually costs, I think, upwards of $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, right? So it's still very, very expensive. We are trying to think of solutions to bring down that cost of the hardware investment for SMEs, but that's definitely a solution that is very exciting, that is worth taking a look at if you're SME, right? Cashier doesn't have a solution like that, but I'm sure that there are other companies out there that does solutions like this. My own take is that the hardware investment might be a little bit costly for an SME, but definitely I think in terms of the user experience, in terms of how we can help you manage your inventory, RFID is a very big trend that we are seeing, especially for retailers. Can the smart solution be used in a wholesale company without a retail store? Yes, definitely, right? So we also work with a lot of home-based sellers. We work with a lot of wholesalers who only have a warehouse, right? They actually don't have a physical presence to firstly manage their inventory. But a lot of nowadays, the wholesalers also use their warehouse to act as a experience center or a distribution point, right? Or a pickup center. So a customer can actually purchase from you online. They actually go to your wholesale center or your warehouse to actually pick up the goods, right? So that's where cashier can come in. We act as the middleware. We link your e-commerce platforms, we link your inventory together. If the customers want to pay in the warehouse, they can actually do that using our payment solution as well. So definitely you do not actually need a physical shop to benefit from solutions like that. Can we give a sense of the challenges we have faced in e-commerce with regards to frauds, scams, and cybersecurity? Can we share some of these examples? Yeah, definitely. So I think, again, like I mentioned just now, I think one of the biggest frauds is definitely when it comes to payments. A lot of the customers might actually have, merchants, right, might actually face certain frauds from consumers when it comes to QR payments, especially in terms of static QR codes. I think we also have a couple of cases where consumer data is being leaked, right? Again, some of the larger companies have been victims of this, either via hacks or the leaking of consumer data, personal information. Again, I think I can't speak for every company, but it really depends on the policies and the security infrastructure that is being set up, by organizations. Cashier, we take a lot of this, security infrastructure very seriously. We invested a lot. Our IT team security is all based here in Singapore. We get ourselves audited, of course, with our own licensed payment gateway. So definitely this helps strengthen the entire security ecosystem of cashier. But I think this is something that a lot of SMEs are starting to also get a lot more concerned with. I agree, it's something that we need to be a lot more, I think more aware of, right? When we are adopting solutions, my recommendations again is to, when you speak to a salesperson or before adopting any solutions, ask them about their security policies, ask them about how they manage data, where is your data stored at, what happens when there is a data leak, for example, right? What happens if there is a failure of the databases? Does it get backed up? Does my data get resold to a third party? Do you share my data with anyone else? Right. So again, don't be blinded simply by the technology that a company can offer, but also, at the back end, right, how they're actually using some of these data and some of these technologies. Is cashier considered an online payment gateway like Stripe, or are we strictly an on-site POS payment gateway? Or actually, we are much more than that, right? So Stripe is just pay on an online gateway. If you approach a bank, they can provide you with a credit card terminal. So definitely Cashier can actually do both of this, right? So if you work with Cashier, we can help you to power your in-store payments. We can actually also link our e-commerce issue invoices, allow the customers to actually pay online directly using your invoices. Again, we have card payments, e-wallets, pay now, buy now, pay later, all the different payment modes in our payment gateway. But payments is a small piece of what we do. I think what we do best is actually to merge the software that we have with the payment solutions that we have, right? So again, like I mentioned, in the future, we will be able to link our customer loyalty component with the payments piece, right? Nowadays, you can also use our Cashier platform, issue an invoice to the customers. The invoice inside will have a link. Customer can click on the link using their own devices and make the payment directly from their own devices. So I think for Cashier, right, where we play the best at is not just purely a payment solution and not just purely a POS company, right? But we are merging payments and software and trying to make the whole experience better for you as the SME, but also better for the end customers, right? And make the whole experience seamless as well. Will we consider adopting blockchain technology for payment transactions in the near future? I think this is something that we have also looked a little bit into, right? I think the main issue with this is with things like virtual currencies like Bitcoin, for example, right? Is that I think it's still not ready to be used as a form of currency exchange, right? Or mode of payment. A few things. Firstly, it's very volatile, right? So the value of Bitcoin and virtual currencies, can fluctuate very greatly on a day-to-day basis. And secondly, actually the authorization, right, using blockchain is actually very relatively slow, right? Because in order to verify the transaction of a blockchain transaction, right, you need to be able to actually send the transaction into the blockchain, verify with thousands of other, the blockchain ledgers. That actually creates a 5 to 7 to 10 seconds delay in the payment authorization. So I think it's interesting as a technology. It definitely helps to reduce fraud, helps to manage a lot of these security concerns we are talking about, but as an experience, it's still not there yet. So I think we are going to continue monitoring a lot of these emerging technologies in the past, where in the future, hopefully, if they are able to bring down the authorization time to 1 second, 2 seconds, right? As a customer, I tap my phone or my scan a QR code, the payment can be approved in 1 second, right? I think that's where technology like using blockchain will start to get a lot more interesting. Okay, I think this is the last question I have. Again, anyone who have any last-minute questions, feel free to leave them in the Q&A section. Last question is, the kind of solutions be merged with the data for orders via Shopee or Lazada, or do the staff needs to rekey in the orders? So currently, Cashier, unfortunately, we do not have any integrations with Shopee and Lazada at the moment, but we are deeply looking into it. We have open conversations with both Shopee and Lazada to look at how we can integrate the marketplaces directly into Cashier. I think the challenges is because they are a marketplace, right? They are not the e-commerce retailer themselves. So the way they manage the product data and the inventory data is slightly different from if you were to manage it via Shopify or WooCommerce, because as a merchant, right, you actually own the Shopify site, right? You're actually managing everything yourself. But Shopee and Lazada, because they have so many different promotions and sometimes they actually manage the inventory a little bit differently. We're trying to see how we can actually merge both the data together. But we agree that this is a trend that is something become a lot more common, something that Cashier as a company we will also want to invest in. So definitely, in the near future, hopefully we will be able to have integrations with both Shopee and Lazada.